Welcome in this video on W.B. Yeats and the poem written by him, A Prayer for My Daughter, prescribed in the course for BA final students. I am Dr. Vinita Bhadoria, Associate Professor of English in Government College, Behror. In the previous video, I have given a brief introduction on A Prayer for My Daughter, and I have explained you 3 stanzas of the poem. In this video, I am going to explain you the remaining poem. Helen, being chosen, found life flat and dull, and later had much trouble from a fool. While that great queen that rose out of the spray, being fatherless, could have her way, yet chose a bandy-legged smith for a man. For men, it's certain that fine women eat a crazy salad with their meat, whereby the horn of the plenty is undone. In this stanza, poet substantiates his view on how excessive beauty has always been a source of trouble and destruction. He turns to Helen in Greek mythology, considered to be the most beautiful woman on earth, brought the doom upon her and many others. The image of Helen evokes another figure, Aphrodite, who rose out of the spray. The union of Aphrodite with Hephaestus, bandy legged smith, brings to mind the Madgon Macbeth episode of its life. It makes the poet wonder if the beautiful women eat something stupid for salad, that they make a stupid decision which brings misery forever. The return of the plenty is suggestive of courtesy, aristocracy, and ceremony that is lost by those women who make stupid decisions. Or, in other words, we can explain the stanza in this way that Helen of Troy was a great beauty. She found her life monotonous and dull, and later she had much trouble on account of a foolish lover called Paris. Likewise, the great beauty queen, Venus, who sprang from the foam of the sea, and who, being fatherless, could have her way, chose a lame ironsmith for her husband. It is now evident that great beauties eat with their food such salad of pride as make them crazy, and by their craziness their marital happiness is ruined. Thus, the image of Helen evokes that of Venus, and her union with Hephaestus evokes the memory of the equally unsuitable Maud Macbeth union. The past is thus linked up with the present, and the personal with the impersonal. The scope of the poem is thus widened, and large vistas are opened to the mind's eyes. The poet father does not want that his own daughter should be an extremely beautiful woman like Helen of Troy. The poet's own experience with Modgon make these lines doubly personal. The image of Helen evokes another figure, Aphrodite, goddess of love and beauty, who rose out of spray. The union of Aphrodite with Hephaestus, the bandy legged smith, leads at once to the Modgon Macbeth marriage. This makes the image cluster rich and complex. So, in poets' thinking, the beautiful women are silly, so that their happiness suffers. He prays for her daughter to God not to make his daughter so beautiful as to make her vain and proud. While making this prayer, the poet has in mind the proud and obstinate Morgana and how she rejected his passionate and devoted love. In courtesy, I would have her chiefly learn it. Hearts are not had as a gift, but hearts are earned by those that are not entirely beautiful, yet many that have played the fool. For beauty's very self has charm made wise, and many a poor man that has roved, loved, and thought himself beloved, from a glad kindness cannot take his eyes. The poet gives example from history and legend of over beautiful women who suffered much themselves and also caused great suffering to others because of their pride and vanity. In this stanza, poet prays that his daughter may be particularly gifted with courtesy. For hearts of lovers are not taken as a gift by those who are not fully beautiful. Lovers' hearts are won by them by virtue of their good manners. Beauty was its own power indeed. Yet the charm of courtesy has also made wise many lovers who have played the fool for the exceptional physical beauty of their beloveds. Many pure lovers of physical beauty who have wandered in their beloved's dreamlands loved them passionately and thought their sweethearts also loved them, have been found unable to take their eyes off the face of a kind and courteous woman. The poet means to say that charming manners are more important for a woman than more physical beauty. A good mannered, sweet tempered lady speaking kind words to everybody around her attracts all. The poet then prays that his daughter's hidden soul may flourish like a tree and a kindness be always in her heart and in her eyes. In other words, we can say that poet continues with what he wants his daughter to possess more than mere beauty. He wants his daughter to learn to be compassionate and kind. Many times, men who believed to love and loved by the beautiful women face disappointment compared to those found love in the modest yet compassionate woman. Moreover, he says, modest and courteous people attract hearts than those with beauty, referring to his own marriage. Ultimately, he makes it clear that he wants his daughter to be an agreeable young woman than an arrogant beauty. May she become a flourishing hidden tree, that all her thoughts may like the linnet be, and have no business but dispending round their magnanimities of sound. Nor but in merriment begin a chase, nor but in merriment a quarrel. Oh, may she live like some green laurel, rooted in one dear perpetual place. It continues to talk about his hopes and expectations for his daughter in these lines. As she grew up, he wants her to be happy and content. He wants her to become a flourishing hidden tree, and her thoughts like a linnet, referring to its innocence and cheerfulness. Like a linnet, he wants her to be satisfied in herself and infect others with her happiness. Further, he wants her to live like a laurel, rooted in a particular place. The poet reveals his wish on his daughter being rooted in the tradition. Or, in other words, we can say that he prays his daughter's hidden soul may flourish like a tree, and that her thoughts may be as innocent and cheerful as the linnet's notes. He also prays that her soul may have no business other than that of speaking words of courtesy to those around it, out of her innocent and cheerful thoughts. She may not take a drink or start a quarrel except for the sake of fun. He also wishes her to love like a green laurel tree, having her roots in perpetual aristocratic tradition and courtesy. The poet considers a life rooted in tradition a happy life, and so wishes that her life should be rooted in one place and tradition, like laurel, and that would result in the maximum of happiness for her. Further, he says, for her daughter, that she may become a flourishing hidden laurel tree symbolizing peace and prosperity. She should be the magnanimous and good manners, and she should play and quarrel only in happiness on, or we can say for fun. My mind, because the minds that I have loved, the sort of beauty that I have approved, prosper but little, has dried up of late, yet knows that to be choked with hate may well be of all evil chances chief. If there's no hatred in a mind, assault and battery of the wind can never tear the linnet from the leaf. Poet continues to talk about self-contentment of a woman. He believes that kind, self-contained, traditionally rooted women are incorruptible. The poet considers hatred to be the cause of all evil and prays that her daughter to be left of that evil. Further, he believes that a soul free from hatred will preserve its innocence and hatred, just as the storm outside can't tear leaves from sturdy trees. Turmoil and war cannot break a strong woman. In other words, we can say that Father Poet prays a happy life for his daughter. The world he sees is heading towards the anarchy. The poet praises courtesy, charm, wisdom, and good manners, kindness like politeness. He wants his daughter to be free from hatred, especially intellectual hatred. He says that courtesy is to be preferred to the perfection of physical charms. The poet further says that the soul of his daughter may grow and reach self fulfillment like a flourishing trees. He prays that cheerful and innocent thoughts may cluster round her soul as do linnets round a tree. The poet says that recently he suffered much unhappiness to see that the people he had liked and the great beauty he had loved got only little happiness in life. And intellectual hatred is the worst. So let her think opinions are accursed. Have I not seen the loveliest woman born out of the mouth of plenty's horn? Because her because of her opinionated mind, barter that horn and every good by quiet natures understood, for an old billows full of angry wind. In this stanza, The poet implores his daughter to shun passion and wild feelings that he considered as the weakness of a beautiful woman. She must be temperate because people who love deeply could hate deeply too. Hate destroys people and makes them do cruel things, especially intellectual hatred, which is worst of all kinds. The poet reflects upon his emotional state when Madgon rejected him to marry John McBride. He wants his daughter to experience neither the disappointment nor hatred. So he says that his experience tells him that to have in one's hard hatred for a person may well give rise to a great suffering for one's soul. If there is no hatred in one's mind, threats and buffets of the wind of misfortune can never disturb the composer of the soul. He wants that his daughter should be free from all feelings of hatred. She should develop qualities of character and manners. To cherish some intellectual hatred is the worst fault in a person. The poet wants that his daughter should consider strong opinions detestable things. He has seen the fate of a most beautiful woman belonging to a well to do family who, because of her strong opinions about herself, others' life, and politics, lost her happiness. She sacrificed her prosperity and all her good qualities, appreciated by her quiet admirers, for becoming an out of date revolutionary orator full of words in favor of violent action with freedom. For Ireland she gained nothing. This is a reference to Madgon, whom the poet loved, but she had refused to marry Yeats. Now, the word intellectual hatred marked the complexity of the image cluster of Yeats, the horn of plenty. These are the few images he has made use of in this poem. Considering that all hatred driven hence, the soul recovers radical innocence and learns at last that it is self delighting, self appeasing, self uprighting, and that its own sweet will is heaven's will. She can, though every face should scowl, and every windy quarter howl, or every billows burst, be happy still. In this, poet is considering that the absence of hatred keeps the soul radically innocent, self delighting, contented, and self shining. The poet's daughter may feel that her sweet will is God's will. Being free from hatred, she may always be happy, even though the whole world turn hostile to her and storms of misfortune blow against her. Finally, the poet wishes his daughter to be married to a man who belongs to a courteous, strong, aristocratic family. In other words, the impact of hatred and the benefit of staying away from hatred is describing in this stanza. Once hatred is driven out, the soul could recover its innocence. Then the soul would be free to explore and find that it is self delighting, self appeasing, and self uprighting. According to the poet, the ideal woman makes everyone happy and comfortable despite all storms of misfortune that comes in her way. She is a stronghold for people around her, and her will would be that of heavens, for she has a clear mind. And may her bridegroom bring her to a house where all's accustomed, ceremonious, for arrogance and hatred are the wares paddled in the thoroughfares. How but in custom and in ceremony are innocence and beauty born. Ceremonies a name for the rich horn, and custom for the spreading laurel tree. In these lines, the poet expresses his final wish. He prays that his daughter to be married to a good husband who takes her to a home with aristocratic values and traditions. That he believes that neither arrogance nor hatred of common folks could be found, but morality and purity. Further, the poet does not want her to live a decadent life. He concludes by stating that his daughter would be rooted in spiritual values like a laurel tree. In other words, we can say, like other fathers, the poet prays to God that her husband may take her to his home of perpetual tradition and ceremonies. Hatred and arrogance are things belonging to a common people. Aristocratic life is rooted to custom and ceremony, which are the sources of innocence and beauty. Ceremonious courtesy is the source of happiness and success in life, and customary courtesy the source of gladdening cheerfulness. The poet implies the aristocratic stance on ceremony and prays great attention to rules of decent and refined behavior. He also implies that aristocratic courtesy is rooted to long tradition. He then adds the uses of courtesy is another name for prosperity, and tradition stands for the growing laurel tree of life. The poet means that decent and refined courtesy leads to prosperity and happiness, and elegant customary behavior leads to bright success and honor in life. So we can say, in the end, the poem is concerned with the chaotic modern world. It shows a father consumed with apprehension for his daughter's future in an uncertain political situation. The father is tense about how he can possibly protect his daughter from the raging storm outside because she is very beautiful. Therefore, he prays for her as well as gives advice about how to live successfully on earth. Similarly, modern day fathers can send quotes from this poem to their daughters as a piece of advice for special occasions. So, I hope you understand the analysis and explanation of the poem. If you feel any difficulty, you are free to ask questions. I will solve your queries. Thank you very much.